Welcome to My Precious Data, the podcast by Eddy Willems, where we explore the world of cybercrime and incidents affecting our society. In this series, we engage in conversations with Eddy Willems, security evangelist, globally recognized cybersecurity expert, and international keynote speaker. Eddy also dives into conversations with fellow experts to share insights and explore new perspectives. Together, we highlight the latest security trends and discuss preventive measures to help avoid these kinds of problems.
Good morning, good evening, good night, whenever you're listening. Welcome back to My Precious Data. Today's guest is someone I've known for many years and someone who plays a very unique and important role in the cybersecurity ecosystem. He's the founder of AV-Comparatives, one of the world's most respected independent security testing organizations. Andreas Clementi. Andreas, it's great to have you on the podcast. Hello.
Hi.
Hey. Andreas, first of all, where are we over here,
We are in Innsbruck, where AV-Comparatives is based. We are recording this while we are having our annual AV-Comparatives Summit. And this year we are also hosting the Caro workshop.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm also over here actually for that summit and the Caro workshop. So you and I have known each other for quite some time now. Do you remember when and where we first met? Do you remember something? Because for me, a little bit blurry.
Yes, I think we first met 2004 in Luxembourg at the ICA conference.
Oh, yeah.
This was my very first conference, because usually I do not attend conferences, and this was my very first one, because I thought ICA is very academic and scientific and not so marketing driven. So
true.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I remember it as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and actually for the people who are listening, this is really rare that you can hear Andreas giving an interview. So I think this is remarkable that he said yes to be on my podcast.
Yeah, I'm very shy and I don't really like to be in the spotlight. So
Okay.
This feels a little bit unusual for me.
Yeah, but that makes sense. No problem at all. So for the listeners who may not know your background, how did you personally get into cybersecurity and what led you to focus on independent testing?
So it started very early for me. So when I first got my first personal computer in 1993, I got infected with a virus, November 17. That made me curious about the topic. And of course, I wanted to protect myself, but I keep getting infected. So I was reading magazines to find out what is the best antivirus. But every magazine said something different.
Typical.
I did not really believe what they write. So I thought I have to find out myself. So I started researching the topic, let's say, and testing myself to find out what is the right product to use.
Exactly. Yeah. I totally. It's typical. I think it's also my journey started somewhere with something like that. So yeah. So let's go to the birth of AV-Comparatives. So, well, you said it already. So what motivated you to start with AV-Comparatives? Because, of course, you told already that, why you started with it more or less, but what is something else, maybe?
So, of course, it was not a business idea. I never wanted to do a business out of it. It was really just a hobby for myself.
Yeah.
I tested the products for myself, actually, and also for my friends at school. So I wanted to understand what is true and what not. So I tested myself, and I tried to figure out what is the best way to test antivirus products. And because people were interested in the results because I posted them online, it started to get my focus hobby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, at some point it went very big and I had to create AV-Comparatives.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. So at the time, the antivirus industry was already growing fast. Why did you feel there was a need for independent testing?
Yeah, so as the industry got bigger and bigger, also the marketing got bigger. Every vendor claimed to be the best. And for me and also for users in general, it became very difficult to understand what is true and what not. So who is saying, who is really the best product to use? So that's why I think that testing in general is very important. Of course, independent testing is very important.
Of course.
And if done right, it gives a data point to the users so that they can understand better what is good and what not, where are the weaknesses of the products, where are the strengths.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's information.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So was it difficult to convince vendors to participate in transparent and comparative testing in the beginning?
So in the beginning, I just poked all the products myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I did not work with the vendors directly in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just tested them.
Yeah.
The environment was also very different. You could find malware easily online. I mean, for research purposes. There were also much fewer samples out there. So the goal was to have the biggest collection.
Yeah.
So to have a very representative test set to use.
Mm-hmm.
There were also other good testing labs. Like I like the Virus Test Center in Hamburg very much.
Yeah.
And this was very academic and research driven.
Yeah.
So in general, the atmosphere was very research driven back then.
Exactly. Okay. So independence is at the core of AV-Comparatives, I think. So how hard is it to remain truly independent in an industry driven by marketing and competition?
Yeah. So independence is not something that you reach one time and that's it. You have to work on it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the industry is, of course, very much driven by marketing and competition, which creates a lot of pressure. So vendors want good results.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to look bad in the public. So the challenge is to stay focused on facts and not on expectations.
Exactly. Yeah. So what does fair and scientific testing really mean in practice?
It means to be consistent, honest, up to date. Scientific means, of course, that the results are based on observation and data. So not opinions or subjective factors.
Mm-hmm.
So we document everything, how it happens and when it happens. And if you read our test reports, you will also find the limitations of the test. So we are open about how we test and what are the limitations.
Exactly.
So that the readers can understand what we did and why we did.
Indeed. Yeah. So have you ever faced pressure, direct or indirect, to influence test results? It's a tricky question, I know.
Yes, this happened over the years. So there were legal threats, but none of them succeed. There were also attempts to discredit our work, or also on a personal level, or to make the research more difficult or almost impossible. But they did not succeed.
Good to hear.
And it's also important to say, it's of course not easy to stand against companies with large communication budgets.
Yeah.
So we are just a small company, but we do the right things, so they cannot succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So our response was always to be stricter with the methodology and to document even more than before.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So let's go to the evolution of malware and protection. So you've had a front row seat to the evolution of threats. How has malware changed from the early virus days to today's ransomware and advanced attacks?
So in the early days, there were two worlds, I would say. So there were the researchers on one side, which tried to protect the users, and there were underground communities which were experimenting with new techniques. So in the past, this was driven by curiosity and creativity, I would say. People wrote malware to see what is possible or to challenge each other on a technical level, or sometimes just for fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember, there were even underground magazines.
Yes, I remember them.
Virus writer communities where they openly discussed new techniques. And yeah, it was interesting time. So in the past, young people just created malware to show off or to show what is possible. And today it's mainly about crime and profit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
So early malware was about technical challenge. And today it's more about ransomware, data theft, espionage. So it's to make profit nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. Are these type of threats today that you feel are still underestimated by users or organizations? Are there any threats underestimated, you think?
I think the most underestimated threat is social engineering.
Exactly.
Because it lowers the defenses psychologically. And attackers use fear, urgency, and trust to bypass rational thinking.
I love to hear this.
Another area is also the leaving of the land attacks, which use normal system tools. Supply chain attacks are also underestimated. So when trusted software is compromised, many victims are affected. And I think that this is why our advanced threat protection test is so useful, because it simulates complex scenarios. We even offer it as a free add-on for the consumer test, main test series, for example, but not every vendor participates in it at the moment. And regarding the organizations, I think that many organizations overestimate what products alone can do, because technology alone cannot replace awareness, updates, and backups, of course.
Completely agree. So let's go to the measuring of real protection. I think one of the biggest challenges in security is measuring real-world protection. What do users often misunderstand when they look at test results?
The biggest misunderstanding is that they think that one number tells the whole story. We have defined very easy to understand scoring models. At least in my opinion, they are very easy to understand. For example, we have in the consumer main test series, the standard rating. So standard, advanced, advanced plus, and tested. And reaching the standard rating is already a very strong result. But this is not very clear to the readers. So advanced and advanced plus were introduced only as incentive for improvement. But marketing often promotes only the highest awards and ignores standard completely. But like I said, standard is already a very good result. What is also to be said, a test is of course not the universal truth. It's just a snapshot of a specific scenario at a given time. People also forget side effects like false positives or impact on system performance. So real protection is about balance.
Yeah.
And of course, because I said it's a snapshot at a given time, the test should be evaluated over time.
Yes.
So looking at trends, not at rankings. It's not about reaching 100% in a test. It's more reducing the risk. It's not about you have to reach 100%. And this is why I recommend everyone to read the methodology in detail, do not look only at one testing lab. Of course, they can look at our testing lab, but they also should look at other testing labs and different tests, because the more data and information you have, the better picture you get.
I totally agree.
And maybe just to make it even more clear, many users treat test results like sport rankings.
Oh, yeah.
So they look who is number 1 and who is number 2, but this is not what it is about. The real goal is not to declare a winner. It's more to show the positive and negative aspects of the products and to help them to make an informed decision.
Yeah. It's unbelievable how much is to say about detection and tests. And so is detection rate still the most important metric, or has that changed?
Detection rate is still important,
Mhm.
but not enough, of course. So attacks today are more a chain of action. So what matters is how the products behaves during an attack. So like I said before, false positives and performance are also very important aspects, as well as usability and response speed, for example. So we need a holistic view.
Exactly. Okay. Do you think users and enterprises know how to properly interpret security test reports?
Some do. Many may not, but this is understandable.
Yeah.
So I think a common mistake is stopping at the final score without reading conditions and limitations of tests. The results are often just used as marketing instead of technical guidance.
Yeah.
So test reports should give a guide, maybe even narrow down decisions, but not replace thinking and own evaluations.
Mm-hmm.
And enterprises should look at vendor scores over time and across different test types, because like I said, you cannot look at just one number. And I repeat, I really recommend looking at more than one testing lab. And yeah, interpretation is improving, but education is still needed.
Yeah, I also completely agree. AI, automation, and the modern security, that's another thing, of course. So AI is now used by both attackers and defenders. How has this impacted the way you test security products?
So AI is a new term which marketing really loves. But it's not really something really completely new. So machine learning, which is a sub part of AI, is being used in security products since many years, even decades. So what changed is the scale and the dynamics, also thanks to improved computing speed, but it's not something completely new. So there is also deep learning, which some products have. And of course, AI is being used in certain parts of the products. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's right. I think a lot of users don't know that AI is being used inside products already.
But for us, the principle remains the same. We just expose the products to the real attacks and observe the results. As you know, in the past, there was also the cloud, which was something new, which changed a little bit how testing has to be done. So we have, of course, to adapt constantly, but we also need to protect parts of the methodology so that products do not optimize for the test. But we try to be as transparent as possible to still deliver fair results. And in the end, like I said, we measure just the outcomes. We observe, we describe, and we look whether a product prevents damage, no matter how.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you believe AI will make independent testing more difficult or more important than ever?
both, but not in a new way. So, like I say, cloud protection already made systems very dynamic. AI just increases even more the marketing claims and complexity, which users cannot verify themselves. And this is where independent testing becomes more important.
Let's have a look to the security industry itself. So you work with almost all major security vendors. How has the cybersecurity industry itself changed over the years?
The industry changed a lot. So in the early days, many companies were founded by small groups of engineers and researchers. They did it mainly driven by curiosity and the idea of protecting users. So it felt more technical and academic than commercial. Back then, it was for me also common to communicate directly with the founders and developers. So the discussions were very technical and open. And today, the industry is much more business driven.
Okay.
So companies are now large organizations with marketing, sales team, strong competition. And marketing and branding plays a much bigger role today than in the past. And in my opinion, this also increases the need for independent testing to compare the real behavior and maybe even help to reduce the complexity for decision makers. But to be honest, I also feel a little bit nostalgic because many early pioneers, the founders, they are now starting to leave or to retire.
True.
And this leaves a gap.
Yeah.
So in the early days, all those founders and developers, those were really people which were extremely focused. They were oriented toward details and were deeply passionate. So like I'm passionate for testing, they were passionate about their products and protecting the users. So they could spend endless hours improving things because they cared about the topic on a different level than today. And I sometimes really miss that atmosphere.
I unbelievable like that answer, actually. So actually it answered more or less my next question. Do you think vendors today are still driven by protection or more by marketing claims?
Vendors in general, I would say it's a mix.
Yeah.
So the technical people care, of course, about protection, but competition and positioning out there is much louder than before.
There are much more companies as well, of course. So is there something the industry collectively does wrong, in your opinion?
Yes. Oversimplification.
Okay.
So security is very complex, but it's presented as if one product can solve everything. Another issue is that there is too much focus placed on being the number one or having the best marketing claim. This turns security into a competition of slogans and not so much on discussing about the real risk and real protection. And when they talk about technology, they do not focus enough on people and processes. So many incidents do not happen because a product failed, I would say, but because of human behavior, missing updates, or the procedures are not the best. So security is about reducing risks. It's not about perfection. You cannot reach perfection. Security, you cannot buy security. It needs to be lived and integrated into the processes.
Exactly. Wow, these answers are so good. I hope everybody is listening to this podcast because this is, for me, fantastic. Very interesting answers. Some memorable moments and stories. Without naming names, what's one of the most surprising or unusual findings you've encountered during testing?
There were, of course, many different things. One example which comes to mind is that during Android testing, there was one product which had a password protection implemented, but you could enter any PIN code and it got unlocked. So there was no security feature implemented correctly. So this shows that a small mistake, because it's just one line of code which was wrong,
Of course,
can undermine the whole security feature. Then another surprise is, which happens several times over the years, where there are companies which want to get tested, and they think that they have a very revolutionary or the perfect product which now solves all the problems. And then we test it, and we show them that there are major flaws and errors, and it does not work in reality. And this then opens their eyes, or maybe the eyes of the investors that they have behind it. So yes, we had quite a few surprises looking under the hood, but bad ones, but also a few good ones, of course.
Let's go further with personal reflection. After all these years, what still surprises you about cybersecurity?
Sometimes it can be surprising where you need cybersecurity these days. So 20 years ago, no one would have thought that they need an antivirus on their mobile phone, for example. So yeah, it really changes where cybersecurity needs to be implemented these days, because everything is interconnected. But if we look very closely, the same patterns repeat every time in extortion attempts, but also in how you try to defend against them. The marketing language, of course, also changes, but the logic stays the same. So, like I said, all promises must always be checked against reality.
Exactly. What do you believe now about cybersecurity products that you didn't believe when you started AV-Comparatives?
Yeah, so
Also a difficult one, I think.
not so difficult, but yeah.
Okay.
So when I started, I was very skeptical about the products and their claims. In my opinion, much of what was written in magazines and marketing did not and does not reflect reality. But over the years, I learned that some of the skepticism was justified, more than you would expect. But I also learned that security is very difficult.
Yeah.
So, like I said, products cannot be perfect. They are about reducing risk in complex and different environments. So even good products will sometimes fail and sometimes then excel other products. But anyway, I trust data more than promises. Of course, I trust my data more than anything else. And the long-term results are what you have to look at, and not at single claims.
Okay, if you were starting your career today, would you choose the same path again?
This is now a difficult question.
Okay.
Because this was never really planned.
Okay.
Like I said, it was a hobby. Only when it became bigger, for logistical reasons and also for legal reasons, because you are handling here multi-billion-dollar companies, I had to create a company out of it. So I never wanted to work in the cybersecurity space in the classic sense. As you know, I have many interests in many different topics. And I always wanted to understand how things work and verify whether claims are true. And this is how I think. So, yes, likely I will choose the same path because it's my hobby. It's what I like to do. It's my passion. Yeah. So, yeah. So I tested for myself first because I wanted to know what was true. I shared the results because I believed the data was useful. And what matters is that the results are honest and based on observation. What today I will do different is to improve how it's being communicated outside.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the past we have done almost no marketing ourselves. It was just other people sharing our work and distributing it. But now we are trying to improve because reaching more people is very important, because then they are also informed and can take decisions.
Yeah.
So my mindset would remain the same probably. So being curious, very skeptic, and independent, that would not change.
Exactly. And doing your hobby.
Yeah.
It's like me. I actually I always did my hobby actually. I never worked, I always did my hobby. Still now I'm doing my hobby. This podcast is a hobby. But it's my work more or less as well. And anyway, now we coming always to something like a tricky thing as well for me, because I've most of the time I send a couple of questions out to my participants in this podcast, but then I always ask you, there is always a $1 million question, as we call it, and that's a question I don't know from before, and I always ask then my participant, Andreas, if you could ask me one question, what would it be?
So I have been talked about it. So you have been in the industry for many, many years. And after all your years in this industry, how do you personally decide what to trust in cybersecurity when there are so many strong claims and so much noise?
Well, I think you explained also a little bit about it, because I always also looked at tests from before. So if I was beginning in the industry, I was trying to find out if something is something already tested. Everybody's claiming something. So I tried to find out at that moment, and that wasn't the case, because in the beginning there was no testing at all. And there were some tests from magazines, which are, in my opinion, completely rubbish, because they didn't do it well. They only tried like with 10 samples, and which are, even not being, well, sometimes there were even not malware being tested as being a malware. So that's part of the thing I always wanted to find out. Why are they doing that? So I always was looking forward to when the real test organizations or test companies are starting, and you were one of the first ones, and I was looking very well to that one. So for me, it was also something very important. On the second hand, of course, it's very, very, very difficult to test products. It's unbelievable what you are doing, because everybody has his own habits and own things he wants to do with the product itself. Of course, they need to protect you and they need to protect your business, but there are so many businesses. One, you can try to test it, but it's sometimes still difficult, I think. And of course, it's very difficult to say that everything is 100%, that everything can protect you 100%. So in that way, it's very difficult. For me, it's always been a tricky one. And I tried also to look around me, and there are so many companies these days, much more than before. And it's now even much more problematic, I think, because in the beginning, yeah, there were only like 10 to 20 products, and now you have, well, much more. Well, if you look to the whole security ecosystem, and they all claim the same thing. Oh my God, no, and that shouldn't be the case, because you have products for this, you have products for that, and you need to make your right choice. And it's something you need to be, well, and therefore you need to have antivirus testing labs like yours. And you should do, in my opinion, also your own tests a little bit together with the other test results. So that's how I look to it. So it's like a mixture of everything, but you should do your own test more or less as well. And that's it. Yeah, well, it's a nice question, because it's also not easy to answer that actually, but I like it. Okay. Anyway, I think it also was evolving, of course, because in the beginning there were only viruses and a couple of other malwares, and now you have so many other threats as well. So it makes it difficult for everybody. Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, we are coming more or less to the end of this podcast. I think this was a wonderful podcast, because we've talked about a lot of interesting things. A lot of people which are listening to this podcast will learn a lot about it, I think. Because even, well, yeah, you know, testing is not so known to to every public. It depends from public to public, you know. There are a lot of users looking at it, like you said, like, yeah, who's winning the battle a little bit, but it's still tricky. Do you think we'll see each other again soon? I don't know, during a conference or whatever.
I think not very soon, because I don't attend that many conferences.
Uh-huh.
But very likely, I think we will meet each other at the Virus Bulletin in October. And of course, you're always welcome also next year to come to our summit here in Innsbruck.
Aha. Oh, yeah. This is noted by this, and all the listeners are have heard this, you know. Okay, thank you for this. I have one final question. Maybe, is there one message you'd like to leave to our listeners about cybersecurity, trust, or independent evaluation? Some last thing you want to say?
My message would be: stay curious and think critically. Do not accept claims just because they sound convincing. Look for evidence. Trust should be based on long-term behavior and not on slogans. And independent evaluations can help to bring some clarity. But everyone, like I said, should learn to question and understand what they use.
Exactly. Personally, you were taking this out of my mouth as well. It's more or less my answer I wanted to say during my question, actually. Okay, Andreas, thank you really for this conversation, and for the work you've been doing all these years to bring transparency and trust into cybersecurity. I think this is very, very valuable. I wish you a cyber-safe continuation of your day, and I really look forward to crossing paths again soon. To all our listeners, thank you for tuning in to my precious data. Until next time, stay safe, stay critical, and keep your data precious.
If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, feel free to email us at podcast@wavci.com. For more information about lectures or keynotes, please visit wavci.com. See you next time.